one scar, one face, one legend that terrified an entire continent. They called him the most dangerous man in Europe. Adolf Hitler called him his favorite soldier. Standing 6'4" with a dueling scar slicing down his cheek, Otto Skorzeny looked like he'd walked straight out of a nightmare. He rescued a fallen dictator in a raid so daring it seemed impossible. He infiltrated enemy lines wearing the enemy's own uniform. He became a Nazi myth, whispered about on both sides of the war. But here's the twist history almost buried. Decades later, this same SS commander, this unrepentant Nazi, put his skills to work for Israel, the nation built from the ashes of the Holocaust. This is the impossible true story of Otto Skorzeny. Otto Skorzeny was born in Vienna in 1908. As a young engineering student, he fought 15 saber duels. One blade found his cheek forever. That scar became his signature. When Hitler rose to power, Skorzeny joined the cause early, hungry for glory. He climbed fast, landing a spot in Hitler's own protection circle, but one mission turned him into a legend. September 1943. Benito Mussolini, Hitler's closest ally, had just been overthrown, locked away in a mountaintop hotel fortress, the Gran Sasso, guarded by 200 soldiers. Hitler wanted him back. He handed the job to Skorzeny. Most men called it suicide. Skorzeny called it Tuesday. He crash-landed a squad of gliders directly onto that mountaintop, an almost impossible feat. His men stormed the hotel before the guards even understood what was happening. Not a single shot was fired. Mussolini was free within minutes. Hitler was thrilled. Skorzeny became a national hero overnight, decorated with the Knight's Cross. But he wasn't finished. During the Battle of the Bulge, Hitler handed him an even darker assignment. Skorzeny dressed his own commandos in stolen American uniforms and sent them straight through Allied lines, sowing chaos and confusion. It was a war crime by any definition. It was also brilliant. By the war's final year, Otto Skorzeny wasn't just a soldier anymore. He was a myth, a ghost story Allied soldiers told each other at night. But legends fall. By 1945, Nazi Germany was collapsing, and American forces finally captured Skorzeny. He was put on trial for war crimes, accused of breaking the rules of war with that American uniform stunt. Incredibly, he was acquitted. Allied officers admitted they'd used similar tricks themselves, but acquittal didn't mean freedom. Skorzeny remained locked in an internment camp awaiting denazification. In 1948, he pulled off one final daring escape. 3 former SS officers dressed as American military police simply walked him out the front gate. He vanished. He hid on a Bavarian farm, slipped through Salzburg and Paris, and landed somewhere the law couldn't touch him. Francisco Franco's Spain. Under Franco's protection, Skorzeny built a new life, running businesses and quietly connecting with a hidden network of former Nazis scattered across Europe and South America. He should have disappeared into obscurity. Instead, he was about to become far more dangerous than ever. Hitler's most dangerous commando had escaped, but a new shadow was closing in. Egypt's president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, made a chilling announcement. His country now had ground-to-ground missiles capable of striking deep into Israeli territory, and he wasn't shy about who built them. Former Nazi rocket scientists. Men who had once built Hitler's 52 rockets were now working for Egypt. Men like Heinz Krug, a brilliant engineer who had trained under Werner von Braun himself. For Israel, a nation founded 17 years after the Holocaust, this was an unbearable nightmare. German mines, weapons of mass destruction, and their oldest enemy's ally, all aimed at the Jewish state once again. Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion lost sleep over it. The Mossad launched an urgent, ruthless response, threatening phone calls in the night, letters warning scientists to quit, but warnings weren't enough. Israeli intelligence needed something more. They needed a man already inside that secret network, a man these Nazi scientists would trust without question. There was only one name on that list, Otto Skorzeny. Mossad chief Isser Harel considered a simple solution, kill Skorzeny, but he had a bolder idea, recruit him instead. In Spain, a Mossad team tracked Skorzeny down and arranged a meeting at a bar in Madrid. The conversation moved to Skorzeny's villa. That's when everything nearly fell apart. Convinced these strangers were Israeli assassins sent to execute him, Skorzeny pulled out a loaded weapon and pointed it directly at the agents in his own home. One wrong move, and this story ends right there. But the Israelis stayed calm. They told him the truth. "We don't want you dead. We want you working for us. Skorzeny lowered the gun. Then he made his price clear. He wanted off Simon Wiesenthal's list of wanted Nazi war criminals, the list that made him a permanent target. Mossad agreed and reached out to Wiesenthal directly. Wiesenthal refused, so Mossad simply forged the document, a fake letter claiming Skorzeny's name had been cleared. Skorzeny believed the lie completely. Mossad operative Rafi Eitan became his handler, the man who'd later admit, "I met and ran Skorzeny." Hitler's favorite commando, one of the most wanted Nazis in Europe, had just become a secret asset for the very people his own regime had tried to destroy. The ultimate historical paradox was now locked in place. The deal was struck. Hitler's favorite soldier was now working for Israel, and his first target was one of his own. Skorzeny's first task was simple: gather intelligence. He compiled lists of German scientists, their home addresses, and the secret front companies smuggling missile parts into Egypt. Then Mossad turned deadly. Letter bombs were mailed straight into Egypt's rocket program. One package killed 5 people at a missile factory outside Cairo. The scientists were terrified, and one man was terrified more than anyone: Heinz Krug. Krug had been receiving threats for months. Phone calls in the dead of night, warnings to abandon Egypt's missile program immediately. Desperate and afraid, Krug turned to the one man he trusted completely, the legendary war hero Otto Skorzeny, and begged for protection. What Krug never suspected was that Skorzeny was already working for the people threatening him. On September 11th, 1962, Krug climbed into his white Mercedes with Skorzeny beside him. Skorzeny explained they were driving to meet additional bodyguards waiting in a car behind them for extra security. Instead, he drove Krug into a remote forest north of Munich. There was no meeting. There was no protection. Otto Skorzeny raised a pistol and shot Heinz Krug dead. Waiting Mossad agents, led by a young operative who would later become Israel's prime minister, Yitzhak Shamir, poured acid over the body. They buried what remained in a hole dug days earlier and covered the grave with lime so no search dog would ever catch the scent. Heinz Krug simply vanished. No trial, no trace, no mercy. Egypt's missile program, crippled by fear and mass defections, quietly fell apart within 2 years. Otto Skorzeny died of lung cancer in Madrid in July 1975. At his funeral, old SS comrades stood at attention and raised their arms in the Hitler salute, honoring the man they believed had remained loyal to the cause until his final breath. They had no idea. Standing quietly among the mourners was Joe Ronan, the Mossad officer who had recruited him years earlier. He came to pay respects to an old asset, a secret even Skorzeny's closest friends never uncovered. Here lies the impossible truth of Otto Skorzeny, Hitler's favorite commando, one of the most feared Nazis alive, and secretly for over a decade, a hidden weapon working to protect the very state his old regime tried to erase from history. Hero or villain, Nazi or asset, Otto Skorzeny was somehow both and neither all at once. What would you have done in his position? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more forgotten history the world tried to forget.